You'd say protect the state from the church. David?
Separation church and state, let me go at it another way. Number one, the phrase doesn't exist in any constitutional document, any government document. So we're now talking about a metaphor that has no place in the Constitution except because judges tell us it belongs there.
Right.
Second is the history of the phrase. If you want to attach it to the First Amendment, go to the Bill of Rights. The purpose of the Bill of Rights goes back to the Declaration. There's a creator. He gives inalienable rights. Government exists to protect those rights. The Bill of Rights exists for no other purpose than to make sure we have the right to practice what the Creator told us we could do.
This is really important. This is going to blow your mind. This is a training manual from the Air Force, 1954. Now listen to this. This is unbelievable. The idea uppermost in the minds of men who founded the United States was that each and every human being was important. They were convinced that the importance of the individual did not come from any grant from the state. This importance of the individual did not come from any position he had achieved, nor from power he had acquired, nor from any wealth he had amassed. They knew the importance of man came from the very source of his life. Because man was made in the image and likeness of God, he had a destiny to achieve. So in other words, there's something you've been sent here to do. You're not just a schlub that has been pumped out in a baby factory. You made a deal with the Creator, and He sent you down to achieve something. You have purpose. And because of that, He had a destiny to achieve, He had inalienable rights, and the inherent in freedom, a freedom to achieve it. That is the basic idea.
Yeah. Now,
that's incredible.
If you take that and go back to separation church and state, the purpose of the Bill of Rights is to protect an inherent and alienable right, which is the right of conscience, the right to worship God, however we want to describe it. When they wrote the First Amendment, they used both terms. The interesting thing is everything in the Bill of Rights does not limit a citizen at all. Everything limits the government. The First Amendment says Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. No individual is prohibited from anything. Congress is told it can't set up a religion and it can't stop anybody from practicing their religion.
That's what's protecting. You can't have a state. When you say protecting the state from a religion, it is that. We can't become a theocracy. We don't want the state telling us how to live our lives and practice worship of God. Can anybody tell me, the Soviet Union Constitution, the former Soviet Union, and all Marxist communist countries have a freedom of religion clause. It's you have the right to freedom of worship. We have the freedom of religion. Can anybody tell me what the difference is? Because they'll equate them to be the same. Raise your hand and pass the mic. Anybody have an idea? One back there. It's a long way. We're going to break, and then we'll come back with that answer in a second. We were talking about what the difference is. By the way, if you just joined us, we have a whole studio full of teenagers from 13 to 19, really bright group of people, and you were just randomly selected and wanted to come to the show, and I thank you for that. You guys feel the importance of the time period that you're living in now? Do you know what's happening? Because there's a lot of people in college right now are like, yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable how clueless some people are. This will, and I have to tell you, we didn't know. I'm sorry that we've left such a mess for you. We really didn't know. We lost our way somehow or another, but we're trying to figure it out. When we left, I asked what the difference is in the old Soviet Union Constitution, the freedom of worship versus the freedom of religion. And Ben was about to speak. Ben.
Well, I think that freedom of religion gives the governed the ability to practice whatever religion they want to, wherever they want to, and whenever they want to. However, like the freedom of worship, that's you can worship whoever you want, just where we tell you and when we tell you.
Yeah, keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
You want to pray all you want, just not around here.
Mm-hmm.
That is the big difference. Yeah. And that is a huge difference, because what can happen from there, David, as you know, means, well, you can't say those things.
That's right.
Not from a pulpit.
Right.
You want to believe them in your head,
right.
whatever. but
Yeah.
you can't say them from a pulpit.
Yeah, worship is a lot narrower than religion, and worship is more easily regulated than religion. And quite frankly, we have a number of court cases. I've been involved in 7 cases of the U.S. Supreme Court, and we have a number of court cases where courts are going after people because of what they say in their prayers. I have a case from Santa Fe, Texas, where a federal judge says, I'm going to have a marshal at graduation listen, and if I hear somebody say the word Jesus in a prayer, they're going to get 6 months on the gallows.
Wow.
Now, that's regulating both not only worship but religion, but the Soviet Union would take worship. And the other thing is, while the Soviet Union gave you freedom of worship, they also had a clause that demanded separation church and state, which gave the state the right to regulate your worship. That's why churches were underground. The problem with separation church and state is it was never in history the church trying to take over the state. It was always the state taking over the church.
Right, because it's a great organ.
That's right.
It's a great organ. You already have it. The progressives are already bleeding into our churches.
They are.
Social justice and everything else. Read C.S. Lewis, the Screw Tape Letters.
There you go.
Written at the same time as Road to Serfdom, and you will be amazed. I mean, he talked about it all in the Screw Tape Letters. Amazing, amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Let me go to David. Go ahead, David.
I asked them if our founding fathers were alive today and they were just regular citizens, how would they react to the actions our government have been taking?
David, I have to tell you, this is something that I have heard from a ton of great questions, from a ton of people, because there's a lot of people who say, they would have been with the torches and the pitchforks, and they would have taken this hornet's nest out.
Wrong.
Good for you. Why?
Absolutely. Several things. We were being shot at for 5 years before we ever thought about a declaration.
How long did it take? We pick up the phone. How long did it take to get over to England?
About 6 weeks.
About six weeks.
And see, what was interesting is we've been fighting for 5 years, and in May of 1776, just weeks before the Declaration, we sent the olive branch petition saying, guys, we want to reconcile. We're not trying to separate here.
Right.
They sent 25,000 British troops at us, and at that point, we got nothing we can do except defend ourselves.
What's his name was in the pulpit and rode down. Was it rode
John
up?
Peter Gabriel Muhlenberg rode
Right?
up. Yeah,
He rode up, and he said, you guys don't know what's coming.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
That's right. He'd seen the attack launched in Virginia, one of the first in Virginia. It had happened up in Boston, happened in other places, but not in Virginia. And they saw it coming. And it's interesting that even in Virginia, even in Massachusetts, with that first shot at Lexington, 18 guys on the ground, how come we didn't get any British? Because the leader, which is the pastor, said, you can't fire the first shot. Now, once they attack you, you can defend yourself, but you can't start anything. So we have 18 go down before we get a shot off.
I tell you, David, it's a great question, but I'll tell you, I'm convinced that just like today, nobody wants to go against the Constitution. Nobody, who wants to fight? Who wants to do that?
Yeah.
I think they exhausted absolutely everything, and we've just begun.
We've got so many political opportunities left us that we haven't even touched. I mean, we can turn this thing around in a heartbeat.
But there's a difference between technology. That would be the other side. Technology, man, they could close this thing down tight as a drum. The whole world could be shut down. Iran is doing it. They just shut it all down. If it wasn't for Twitter, the world wouldn't know.
And that's the cool part now. The social networking that we've got and everything else, internet, they can't do it.
It's amazing. Margot, what was your question?
Hey, Glenn. As a Christian, I understand the Founding Fathers' viewpoint that religion is really important to government, but what was the purpose in adding "In God We Trust" on the money, and what was also the purpose in using the Bible as one of two kind of inspirations for the Constitution as well as the Anglo-Saxons?
I don't even think, knowing the Anglo-Saxons, so you know what the original seal was of the United States then, if you know about the Anglo-Saxons, right? What was it, Margot? Can we put the mic, give Margot the mic back, please?
I believe the back was the two heads of the Anglo-Saxon brothers that brought the Anglo-Saxons to England, and the other one was that the three-headed eagle with the two wings.
No, but you are, I mean, bonus points for knowing what you do know. Most Americans don't even know that. The seal was Moses parting the seas and the pillar of fire. And that was the proposed seal by Jefferson and Franklin.
Jefferson, Franklin, and Adams were on the committee.
Okay.
And Adams came up with a different seal, but Jefferson and Franklin agreed on that seal with Moses.
And in God we trust.
Well, what happened was it goes back to that 126 words in the Declaration. Point number one of the philosophy of American government is there is a creator.
Right.
And we start with that point.
Here's the thing. The founders, one of the first things they did, and a lot of them did this, They fought for people's rights outside